Welcome to the Happy Healthy Life Podcast with your hosts, Rob and Randy, who reveal the truth, the lies, and confusion about health so that you are no longer the victim to mainstream medical dogma and you are the hero to your own happy, healthy story.
Hey there, and welcome back to the Happy Healthy Life Podcast with your host, Rob and
Randy,
and we are
the Happy Healthy Guys.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. So today we've got a great episode. So we want to answer some questions that we typically get from people, and I know we've been on several podcasts in the recent in the last few weeks.
It's like we've been doing podcasts every single day, right?
It does seem like we've been doing that, and then we're also fresh off. I say fresh off, but a week off our retreat and getting to hang out with our happy healthy peeps, our happy healthy folks, and we just want to make sure that we are answering our most popular questions that we get from people. So we're going to be talking about, is losing weight about calories in, calories out, moving more, moving less? What is
it that you guys eat?
What do you guys eat? We always get that.
They always want to know, what the heck are we even eating? In fact, really quickly too, Mama Freddie, my sweet mother, she had listened to the most recent podcast that we were on with Amanda Tress, which was awesome. And she said, "Oh my gosh, this is one of my favorite episodes y'all have ever done. I loved it." And that came straight from Mama Freddie. So there you go.
Did she say what it was about the podcast that she was loving?
Well, I think she's just blinded by the fact that she has to love us because I am her firstborn and you are her adopted son and plus one. But no, she just said that she thinks we're getting better. So she goes, "I've been listening to you guys now forever, and I just loved it. Feel like you guys are getting better and better and better. Your stories are connecting more. The way you're communicating is better." So I took that as great feedback and real feedback from Mama Freddie. Even got a response today on Facebook, the newest podcast that came out with Lisa from Little Rock, Arkansas, who interviewed us. One of my old college friends had messaged us and said, "I loved the podcast." I'm like, "Which one are you talking about?" "Oh, it's this one." So anyway, today's going to be fun because we can maybe give people a little insight on a lot of the topics that we've been talking about, which really are very simple, but can easily be glossed over if you're not really sure what to do when it just comes down to how do I navigate this thing called metabolism? How do I navigate this longevity game? What's the basic, simple things that I can do? So I'm excited about just breaking it down on a very simple level.
Let's do it. Okay, so let's go over some then the common myths. Okay, when it comes to health, I know for myself, way back when I first started getting into to health was way back when I was 12 years old. And for me, wanting to, I was really wanting to lose weight. I was motivated to, quote, get healthy. What I was really saying is I was motivated to want to lose weight. Health really couldn't be the furthest thing from what it is that I was
Why
really
was it not about your health at 12 and 13?
Well, because at 12 and 13, guys, we start going through this thing called puberty. And then all of a sudden you start noticing all the girls. And here's what I noticed about all the girls. All the cute girls didn't really like the chubby fat kid. And what I mean by that is at that time in my life, I was, wearing the husky jeans where because of the waist to length ratio is not quite great. So it's like my if you're watching this, you can see that like my pants were like about this much too long based on the circumference of my waist, which was probably like 8 inches too long. And then my mom would have to hem them. So it's really embarrassing because I didn't get to wear the designer jeans that everybody else was wearing at school because I was shopping for the husky jeans at J.C. Penney's in San Antonio,
I was wearing the
Texas.
Toughskins.
Yeah.
They were the ones, the little skinny little kids.
But they're
the same brand, right?
Same
Huskies
brand.
Had the reinforced knee.
Yeah, I couldn't wear the Toughskins.
Yeah, I wore those almost up until I was like in 9th grade. I was so little and skinny, but anyway.
I'm happy for you. So I was
well,
not
being little and skinny doesn't make you that popular either.
Yeah, it's all perspective. So way back then, it's kind of like that. The diet story. We like to tell the diet story because everyone who's tried to lose weight has the diet story. And so for me, the diet story was, okay, I want to look better in the mirror. I want to look better for these 12 and 13-year-old girls. So what do? I did what everybody else was doing and what I had learned, and I had learned it from my mom. It doesn't make, my mom right or wrong. She was just doing what it is that she had been taught. And that's, if you want to lose weight, you need to do one of two things, and that's eat less and do, and I had a, I never forget, I had a baseball coach at that time. Great guy. However, I remember in front of my mom, him telling my mom, because I was a catcher and I had to be really fast to be able to run to first base, to be able to back up any throws going to first base. If you play baseball, you know what I'm talking about. And I wasn't fast enough or quick enough. So he told my mom, he's like, Miss Norma, Rob needs to be doing more pushaways. This was the exercise he was telling my mom that I needed to do. And I'd never heard this before. I'm like, what's a pushaway? Is this like a push up? And he's like, no. Miss Norma, you need to make sure that he's pushing away from the table more. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And so what does that mean? It means to reduce calories. And
Yep.
so I took that literal. So if it was literal, meaning if I'm going to push away from the table, that means don't eat the food that's on the table. In other words, start starving yourself to lose weight, to be faster, to be quicker, to be better at baseball, to be more loved by these girls, to be more loved now by my coach, my mom. So psychologically, not the best thing for you. Anyway, all that says this is that, yeah, I greatly reduce the calories. If a little is good, then a lot is better. So the diet story is I started starving myself, and yes, I lost weight. I went from 210 pounds all the way down to 124 pounds in a very short time. And it didn't make me any healthier, which then that's the diet story. Because when you're starving your cells of the nutrients that they need, what are you doing to your metabolism?
You're destroying it.
You're destroying it. You're killing it. So that right there began then my battle with weight. So then the next part of that weight loss story is then you start going to the gym. You start exercising more. So I started exercising a lot. I worked out like crazy. Every day after school, I was there at the gym working out, building up my muscles. But here's the thing, if I wasn't working out or I wasn't eating perfect at that time, even in my life, then I would gain weight. So it was really a struggle to be able to maintain that weight loss. And they say it's easier when you're younger. For me, it really wasn't that easy. So even when I went into college, I was still having to be perfect with my eating, perfect with my exercise to maintain this healthy weight. And as I got a little bit older, like a lot of people in this weight loss story, is you start learning more about, nutrition. Now, when I say learning more about nutrition, it's like, nowadays you're learning from Dr. Google, or back then from what everybody else was doing, whether it's Weight Watchers or at the time it was Atkins and no fat. And so now I'm doing the trendy diets. Okay, so now I'm cutting out all carbohydrates and only eating fat, basically the Atkins diet, right? And so again, with a poor metabolism, so it was still hard. And then fast forward where, I'm now in chiropractic practice. I'm learning more about nutrition, but it's still revolved around cutting calories. So now it's only doing it with healthier, quote, healthier calories, right? Because now you're doing the paleo, you're doing the shakes, you're doing whatever is now that trendy thing at that time. And guess what? I would lose some weight. And as soon as I stopped drinking shakes for every meal of my day and put any kind of food back in, then I'd gain all the weight back. And meanwhile, some people in my practice would lose weight, but eventually when they stopped doing the things that were helping them to lose the weight, which is cutting calories, then they would gain the weight back. So it's this yo-yo phenomenon, okay? So with that diet story, even though thank God that yes, I was in a holistic doctor being a chiropractor, so I was never going to take medications for the problem, but that is that weight loss story. When it stops working, then you end up going to the doctor, and then that doctor is telling you you have a hormonal imbalance or a thyroid problem. They're putting you on that medication. When those numbers don't look good, they're looking for something different. And now they've got you on cholesterol medication. When those numbers don't look good, now they've got you on the blood pressure medication. When those numbers don't look good, then they're changing it to another medication. And if it was right now, in this day and age, because we're talking about 14, 15 years ago, they would now put you on the GLP-1 drug, the Ozempic, or whatever the medication that they have, right? They're going to put you on it. So for me at that time, thank God that, we had this epiphany when you got diagnosed with late stage cancer to go, you know what? Maybe there's something else going on because of what it is that we learned from that cancer diagnosis, which was what?
Yeah, it was a metabolic condition. You don't think about cancer as a metabolism problem. You don't think about heart disease. You don't think about inflammation, all inflammatory conditions, things like diabetes and blood pressure problems and blood sugar issues, hormonal imbalances. You don't think about like organ dysfunction, like even like the most commonly diagnosed condition now is this autoimmune disease called Hashimoto's thyroiditis. It's the inflammation of the thyroid, even like cognitive decline and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. These are all kind of like, we know about type 1 and type 2 diabetes, but really the cognitive diseases are what they're called like type 3. I guess cancer is type 4. And autoimmune conditions are type 5. Like there are all these metabolic dysfunctions that really have all of the same problems associated with them. And they're really the body's inability to metabolize food and use food for energy. It's really mitochondrial poisoning. And so metabolically being sick, anything and everything that you don't want is in play. But here's the good news. And not that I'm not dead, because that is great news.
That's
Almost 15
fantastic
years
news.
ago, looking at this as a metabolic condition, not treating the cancer and then treating the real metabolic condition. But the good news is this: there was an awesome study that came out, and we've had several doctors recently ask us about this study and how we approach metabolism. But it's the largest study of its kind. It was actually published by a researcher, Herman Ponzer. I believe it was done out of Duke University. And what they did is they looked at the metabolism, really challenged the myth that what's supposed to happen to your metabolism as you get older.
Yeah, the myth is that it's supposed to slow down as you get older.
Right. And
That's
who's
the
ever
myth.
said that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's gotten harder as I've gotten older to not just lose weight, but especially to keep the weight off, for sure.
You got it. And listen, is it common to gain weight as you get older and feel like your metabolism is slowing down? And maybe it is, but it's not normal, and age really isn't the reason. So this is what the study showed: is they took and they looked at what is the metabolic rate of somebody when they're first born. And obviously, as you can imagine, you really get the metabolism of your mother. You're born right there. Your metabolism is very, very high. And then really from the time that you're born up to the first year of life, your metabolism is going to be burning tons of calories. If you can imagine all the breast milk, hopefully breast milk that you're getting, all the nutrients, all the calories for the growth, because your body is literally almost doubling and tripling in size on the cells every single week and month. Now, once you hit 1 year old, 1 year old to about 18 years old, your metabolism starts to take a small dip, which is interesting. It's like, wait a second, I had the best metabolism ever when I was 15. Not saying that you didn't, but the research is saying, hey, from 1 to 18, it took a little bit of a dip. Now, here's the best part. From age 18 all the way up to 60, maybe it was even 65 years old, is your metabolism doesn't change one single bit.
What?
Right, because we're told, hey, once you go over 30, or once you hit 40, or hey, once you turn 50, now your metabolism's in the tank. Thank God that's not true, because turning 50 this last summer and you being 53, we'd be in big trouble, and yet we're still in elite shape, very low body fat, and rock star metabolisms. But here's even the better part, is even after 60, 65 years old, your metabolism would only slow down maybe 7% for every single decade. So if you live to be 80, 90, 100 years old, you're only talking about maybe a 5, 10, maybe even a 15% drop, but that was only in people who were metabolically unhealthy. So the point of that is we know that having a healthy metabolism, that really is the normal, and that you can't blame it on age. You really can't even blame it on genetics. Because if that was the case, then there's nothing you could do at all about your health, because you can't change your age, right? You're not getting in a time machine, and you're definitely not picking different parents. So when you look at metabolism, you look at health, the big myth about metabolism is that it's only about losing weight, or it's only about your weight. And it couldn't be further from the truth. Really, your health of your metabolism really determines the health of your life, how well you adapt, how resilient you are, and the quality of the life that you're going to have for the rest of your life. And the great news, again, is that health really is the normal. And I think that study really showed that.
Yeah, thank God for that. So really just to be able to understand what health really is from above down, and we always say above down and inside
Yeah.
out, and understanding that, okay, there's some things that need to happen in order to be able to heal for me, my body's metabolism at a cellular level, right? So rather than it being all about calories in, calories out, like I'd been taught my entire life, it was really about counting nutrients. It's nutrients in, nutrients
Yes.
out, assuming that your cells are healthy. Okay. Because, and if you can see me right now, I've got my hands, hands together. Let's say this is a cell right here. You got to make sure that your cell is healthy enough in order to get the nutrients inside the cell that the mitochondria needs in order to be able to create this energy that is allowing for cellular respiration, cellular healing, cellular repair, cellular replacing old damaged cells. If that cell is so gunked up by toxins, like we always talk about, like different things like seed oils, processed foods, chemicals, environmental toxins that we're around, and whether or not you're conscious of it or not conscious of it, it really doesn't matter. You could be, we're wrapping up the summer right now, or we've, in Texas anyway, wrapping up the summer. Heck, I was just at my son's tennis match last week, and right in front of me, a girl who's getting ready to play tennis. She's completely unconscious to this, but she's spraying sunscreen all
Mm.
over her neck, all over her back. And I'm getting the side stream sunscreen,
The
right?
worst.
And so this kid unfortunately has no idea that she's putting toxic chemicals into her body that are going to be absorbed in there. And then that right there is going to create literally this gunk around the cell, not allowing the nutrients to be able to get into the cells. I don't want that around me, but I didn't have a choice because I didn't know she was going to whip that thing out and be spraying that right there.
Should be
So
illegal.
yeah, it should be illegal. So
Yeah.
we're around those things. And so that right there is what was destroying my metabolism. So you better have a way to first heal your metabolism and create an environment in your body where better things are more likely to happen, which is what our metabolism program does, is it allows us to be able to have that base, have that great foundation. And now we can be going, all right, yes, instead of counting calories, we're going to make sure that we are counting nutrients going into our body. And that's getting into the meat of what it is that we talked about at the beginning. People want to know, okay, what are the nutrients that you are putting into your body on a regular basis? You guys probably must eat a ton of vegetables, correct?
Right. You would be shocked. We'll dive into that. But yeah, so what you're saying is it's not calories in, calories out. It's the calories in affect the calories out because they play a role in how they impact our bodies at a cellular level. Not to mention, our phones and all the electromagnetic
Yeah.
frequencies, all the microplastics and the nanoplastics that are in our water, that are literally in almost everything that we're using. Heck, we did a whole video the other day on the chemicals in the to-go cup you get your coffee, and that's got the BPA, the bisphenol A's, the phthalates that are in the hair care products and the skin care products that you're using. There's so many environmental chemicals, EMF, microplastics, and a lot of these are endocrine mimickers, and they mimic estrogen, which is making, once again, your cells toxic. So if you are going to live in the world we live in, you can't avoid it all. You want to avoid the things that you can. There are things you can do, but let's go through what are the most nutrient dense bioavailable foods that we do eat. Because if you were to ask people, what do you eat? I think they probably would say, oh, you guys must eat a lot of vegetables because those are the healthiest foods. And in fact, I even did in 2023, I actually went vegetable free in 2023. I ate zero vegetables for the entire year because I wanted to see what would happen. Because I kind of always struggled a little bit with some gut issues. When I would eat a ton of vegetables with my meals, I would really feel heavy. I would feel bloated, heck, even gassy. And I was having, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus bowel movements a day, which, by the way, is way too many. If you're having that many bowel movements a day, your gut is super irritated. But all that to be said is I cut them all out. And what I noticed was that I felt really, really good after I ate. And that is a really good sign of, are you getting bioavailable nutrition or are you eating things that are making you sick? So when I cut all those out, my body felt really, really good after I ate. I didn't feel bloated. I didn't feel tired. I actually felt like I get up and go for a walk, which I regularly do after a meal. So I noticed a huge difference. And one of the reasons we don't eat a lot of vegetables, not that vegetables can't be good for you, is because vegetables do have a lot of anti-nutrients and defense chemicals. Every single organism wants to protect their child. They want to protect their seed and their baby. Plants are no different. Adults, we can fight or flight, right? We can fight, we can run, we can defend. Plants don't get to do that. And because of that, they do build in very, very toxic chemicals into the seed, into the skins, into the leaves. They have this for a reason, to protect that seed and keep people from eating it, so they don't cease to exist, so they can keep reproducing and planting their seed. So one of the reasons we don't eat a lot of vegetables is because of that. And another reason is because you have to learn how to prepare these vegetables correctly. So a lot of plants, if you don't cook them, are going to be very, very damaging in their raw state. I remember doing a lot of raw juices, but they were raw vegetable juice. So there is a defense chemical called oxalic acid. Oxalates, these are common in dark, leafy, raw green. Things like spinach, things like kale, which we're told are superfoods. Yet a lot of these plants are in the soil to actually pull heavy metals from the soil. And now those same heavy metals end up in the leaf. But these oxalates, they chelate key minerals and combine with calcium to form stones in your kidneys, in your gallbladder, and other parts of your organs. So I don't know about you, I don't want a bunch of oxalates in my system. Now, some people metabolize them better. What they're showing is that if you've got a strong microbiome, you've got a good alpha diversity of the right bacteria, that you can actually break down these oxalates and do well. But what do we know about most people's microbiome?
It sucks. And so
is that the scientific term?
That is a scientific term. It sucks.
Yeah.
I read the research paper.
Right.
And so, it's interesting, as we talk about this, because I never had, it wasn't that I didn't like eating my salads. I didn't like it. It wasn't because, I didn't
as
like
long as you
that
can
stuff.
douse it in oil.
I just didn't feel good.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And so after eating those things, and now I understand, and I know why. I also now understand why I also didn't feel great by eating first thing in the morning. Right. Like they tell you, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, which was a Kellogg's propaganda piece that was put out for marketing way back when. And listen to some of our old podcasts. We talk about that. But as you were talking, I was just thinking, I remember when I was back when I was in college, and I was a server at this restaurant. The restaurant that I was a server at was this place called Papados.
Oh yeah,
Papados. They're still around, and it was like the kale that was in these bins was only used as a garnish.
Totally.
Nobody back then would have ever thought to eat that.
Yeah.
I remember one day one of the managers there, I'm like, can you eat that? And he's like, I wouldn't eat that. And I tasted it. I'm like, oh my God, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it became this super
overnight,
food, right? I'm like, I want to know where that came from, but yeah, you would have never thought to eat that back then because it was more of a garnish than anything else. So yes, we want to make sure that we've got those nutrients. And I was thinking, as you're saying this, it completely makes sense. As you know, there's a show that back when I was laid out because of my back and I got to watch a lot of TV. One of the shows that I would watch a lot was a show called Naked and Afraid. Right, it's these people. These people are dropped off in the jungle in the Amazon somewhere, and with no clothes, and they're trying to survive as many days as they can. For they typically go for, I think the goal on one of them is like 21 days. But it's interesting. I was watching this one where they're dropped off in Africa. And this guy that's on the show, it's like the all-star show, and this guy will eat anything. He's got like the iron stomach, and he's known to be that person. They're like, oh my God, he will eat anything. He doesn't care if it's like maggots, he'll eat them. If it's whatever, he'll eat it. And so like rhinoceros testicles, he'll eat it. And he climbs this tree and he gets these berries. and he starts eating these. I don't know if it was a berry, but it was something also that had a seed.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what? I think these are ripe enough for me to be able to eat them. And he's like, oh my God, thank God I haven't eaten for like 5 days. He's finally found the whatever he was eating. He starts eating and he eats like 5 of these things. And next thing you know, later on in the evening, he's getting up and like puking his brains out. And and again, this is the guy with the iron stomach. He's never tapped out of the show ever. And he's been on like, like 5 different episodes of this thing. And the next morning, he is doubled over in so much pain. He can't walk. He can't do anything. He's like, I feel like I want to die. And he taps out.
Wow, the berries got him.
He taps out because they were not ripe, right? So that seed was not ready to be spread across the earth
Was
yet
not
at that time. And so, yeah, because of the toxins that particular berry were producing, so that animals would not eat it because the animal could die. And that's what they said, is if he wouldn't have got his stomach pumped, that he could have actually died because of how many toxins were in that fruit that you could eat when it's ripe.
Yeah, no, and listen, all plants are toxic. Every single plant is toxic. Now, some are more toxic than others. You would die immediately. Some are less toxic and maybe cause other problems with your enzyme pathways, with maybe protein assimilation in your body, or chelating key minerals like zinc or manganese or copper. But all plants are toxic. But to that point, this is why we opt for ripe fruit, because when the fruit is ripe, you're going to get those warm colors like the oranges and the reds and the yellows. And to the human brain, we see that and we're attracted to those colors, because once the fruit is ripe, the seed is fully matured. All right. If the fruit is not ripe, the seed's not fully matured and it has more defense chemicals. So when you eat ripe fruit, you minimize any type of chemicals that the plant could be trying to poison you with. And now eating that seed, the plant wants you to do it, because now that seed gets to be redeposited and keep spreading that DNA. So opt for ripe fruit. Heck, I even love fruit juice. I know fruit juice has really been vilified, but one of the best things you can do is to juice fresh, ripe fruit. If you're worried about the blood sugar response, the data really doesn't say that eating fruit versus the juice plays any role or any difference in the body's ability to absorb that glucose and create an insulin response. So your blood sugar is not spiking because you ate an orange or you ate the juice. Remember, the juice for a lot of you could be a lifesaver because it's more bioavailable and there's less fiber that you have to break down and get through to get to the nutrients. Remember, in the human gastrointestinal tract, we don't have a megacolon. We're not a gorilla that can eat 80 bananas. We have a very small colon and a very long, small intestine, which is where most digestion should take place. So sometimes fresh, and we're not saying pasteurized, we're not saying processed, we're saying fresh squeezed fruit juices. Some of my favorites are coconut water. There are watermelon juice. They are orange juice. In fact, orange juice is anti-estrogenic, which is a huge thing to optimizing mitochondrial function. Great source of vitamin C, polyphenols, bioflavonoids, different types of antioxidants that you get from those. So don't be scared sometimes maybe to fresh squeeze some juice, but ripe fruit is the key. You don't want to eat the unripe fruit because there's more of a propensity to have maybe some defense chemicals or some anti-nutrients. The plant wants you to eat it, but they want the fruit to be ripe. So don't be scared of fruit. It's really been vilified if you think about it.
It has, and for, I mean, some of it should be vilified, because if we rewind, we're not talking about, and Dr. Randy's not talking about the orange juice that comes in the carton, back in the corner of the supermarket. We're not talking about, like he said, the ones that have been pasteurized or stripped of any of the nutrients that they actually really do have in them. It's not those. We're not talking about the Tropicana, the Simply Orange
juice. Sunny D, is that even a product anymore? That was a staple in our home. I don't think there was any orange juice in it.
No, and I used to hate like drinking that. It like would leave like a film in my mouth.
Yeah, it's weird.
It was weird and disgusting. But yeah, we're not talking about those. We're not talking about like the people are like, oh my God, I can go eat the apple, drink the apple juice. Yeah. We're not talking about the fruit, the juice box stuff that you're given.
Capri Sun.
No Capri Sun, none of that stuff. Fresh, squeezed, juice that is coming from a ripe fruit is what it is that we're saying. And also, here's the other thing too is, are we saying that by drinking those juices that you're not going to gain weight? Well, you know what? If
Are you metabolically
yeah,
healthy?
that's what I was going to say. Are you metabolically healthy? Do
Yeah.
you have metabolic flexibility where your body does know to go back and forth between burning sugar or carbohydrates for fuel versus burning fats for fuel? Does it
Yeah.
know when to do that? Can it go back and forth? Which again is why we always talk about our metabolism program, because it helps to be able to get you to a place of that metabolic flexibility to where you now can enjoy those nutrients. And now that's also why we also are coming out with a gut health program. We
Right.
talked about the gut and having a healthy gut.
So vital.
It is so vital because guess what? Everything's got to pass through. It's kind of like if you look at the human body, we're nothing, we've got this tube that goes directly, from our mouth all the way down and exits out the bottom
The
part,
anus.
the anus. And so it's just this tube, but everything that goes into our body that we put into our mouth has to pass through this
Yeah.
tube, ultimately into the stomach. And like you said, or I said the most people's microbiome sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have to know what our body needs to know what to do with those nutrients. So then when it does get to the cell, we get healthy nutrients over to the cell and what's supposed to get there. So we've got a few minutes left. So what's another nutrient that we eat? Let's talk. What about meat? A lot of people talk about proteins, the fats, saturated fats, good, bad. What kind of proteins do we typically like to eat?
Yeah, and just like the fruit, the proteins need to be real food, right? There needs to be nutrient dense, bioavailable food. So there's, God puts all the vitamins, the minerals, the nutrients, and all the things that you're going to get that you just can't supplement. You have to get from food. Meat is the same way, and meat pound for pound is going to be the most nutrient dense food you can eat. Listen, the higher up the food chain you go, the more nutrient dense the food is. So this is why I like ruminant animals. I know you do as well, because ruminant animals are able to eat all the plants, things like cows, bison, deer, antelope, elk, lamb. These animals have multi-chambered stomachs, so they are equipped to eat the plants because they can chew, regurgitate, they can ruminate, which is where that word came from, that cows can basically, the food comes back up, they keep chewing on it, digesting it, going back into the stomach. And what they do, it's a process called biohydrogenation. And only ruminant animals are able to do this. Any animal with one stomach or a monogastric animal like humans, like pigs, like chickens are not able to do this, but they can take the plants, they can digest those plants, they have the right enzymes, and then they can take all those plants, and the biohydrogenation actually creates stearic acid and short chain fatty acids. So you're going to get nutrient dense rich meat that's full of polyphenols, bioflavonoids, all kind of key nutrients, along with the healthy saturated fatty acids. I think on average a steak has maybe 50,000 different positive benefits to it, and only a few of those are measured. A lot of times you think about steak, you're thinking it's a good source of protein. No, it's literally a superfood because of all the amino acids, all the antioxidants, all the nutrients, which is why ruminant animals are also important. If you want to get the best meat and quality meat, make sure that it's pastured, that it's grass-fed, grass-finished, that it's, even if you can, if it's regenerative. That way the cows are outside, they're roaming, they're eating fresh grass. Those are all important. So I really believe beef is a staple. You and I eat a lot of beef. It's definitely a huge part of our nutritional strategy. And beef is very bioavailable, especially the vitamins that you get, like vitamins A, D, E, and K. These are not the same vitamins that you can get in plants because plants don't have very bioavailable nutrients. So when you eat these foods, you're going to get satiety, and most of that is already going to be digested before it gets into your colon. Too many of you are eating all this fake food, all this processed food, this vegan food, tons of raw vegetables. You're getting all of this undigested food into your colon. It's creating endotoxin, creating systemic inflammation throughout your body. Beef is one of the best sources of bioavailable nutrient-dense nutrition. Make sure you eat it. It has been vilified, much like fruit juice. And it couldn't be further from the truth. Why are they telling us not to eat red meat? We're eating less red meat now than we ever have before, yet we have more people that are overweight, sick, and chronically ill.
My question is always, who's they?
Yeah, who are these people,
Who are
right?
they?
We know who they are.
Who
We
they
know
are.
that-
So there you go. So those are some of the things that we eat right there, going all the way back to, making sure that you're counting nutrients going into your body, making sure that you are putting nutrient-dense foods into your body. And you know what? We just want to say thank you for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast.
Absolutely.
We don't take the fact that you took time out of your day to listen to us talk about living a happier, healthier life. And we're only going to get better and better and better with the information, the guests that we have. In fact, we're going to record a podcast this afternoon.
Ooh, I'm excited
with
about
a
this one.
medical doctor that is going to be talking about the effects of long COVID. He's going to talk to us about his role in the whole pandemic.
He's one of the frontline doctors speaking out. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we're excited about that. So be on the lookout for that episode coming up. And once again, thank you so much for liking the show. Thank you for your comments. We appreciate that. We appreciate your reviews. We appreciate all the feedback. And if you do have questions to be answered in the Happy Healthy Life podcast, send those questions to @2 Life on Instagram, and we will make sure that we answer those questions. In the meantime, you guys keep on living a happy, healthy life.
God bless.
Thanks for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. If you enjoy the show, make sure to follow them on Instagram @the H2 Life or on YouTube and Facebook @the Happy Healthy Guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.